I'm Danielle, and I'm bisexual, and I produce those intimate stories for restless hearts, those ones that make you question everything and think, those ones that make you sometimes wanna drink.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Amira McCoy Project audio drama podcast. I'm your host, Danielle. So here we are, back in Paris, the city of romance. What if, instead of enjoying your life, you discover, a bit later on, that you've just been performing, that you've been putting on a show that you hope others will admire? What if you've been living for other people's approval for so long that when you finally meet the man of your dreams, it all seems impossible? Antoine and Julien have been married for 20 years. They've raised kids. They've been living on this sweet, highly artificial validation of others their whole lives. But they've always known, always, since the very beginning.
There are hours in a man's life that do not announce themselves until much later. Hours that seem ordinary as they unfold, yet leave fingerprints on everything that follows. Julien often wondered in the years afterward whether the moment he first met Antoine had already set the world slightly off its axis. He had walked into the gallery on a rainy Thursday, umbrella dripping, shoulders tense from the week. Antoine had been standing before a portrait of a woman staring at her own reflection, as though caught between two selves. Julien remembered thinking he'd never seen someone look at art the way Antoine did, with an ache, a longing, as though searching for a version of himself hidden in the brushstrokes. They exchanged only a nod, then a few words about the artist. But even then, before the dinners, before the stolen glances, before the quiet hours and the terrible choices, Julien felt something shift, a small, quiet gravity. He didn't yet know it would follow him home, that it would reshape his life, that it would destroy it, or that it would save him. On Rue d'Austerlitz, the hour just before dusk had a way of softening everything in Paris. Edges, tempers, truths. The pale curtains breathed in and out with the rhythm of the warm evening breeze, glowing amber in the fading light. Dust hung in the air like tiny, drifting confessions, too light to fall. In the center of that gilded quiet stood Julien. He pressed a cigarette to his lips with the air of someone trying to keep his hand steady, the ember glowing briefly against the dim room. The smoke curled upward, dissolving near the open window. Outside, the murmur of the street rose and fell like the tide, distant, indifferent. Behind him, Antoine watched. He had arrived only minutes earlier, though Julien hadn't turned to greet him. Antoine stood barefoot on the creaking wood floor, shirt forgotten somewhere on the way in, wearing only a dark blazer that hung open over his bare chest. He looked like a man who had rushed out of a life he wasn't sure he wanted back.
Do you ever put it out, or does it just burn itself to death?
Julien didn't answer. He took another slow drag, eyes fixed on the window, on rooftops washed in honeyed light, on anything but the man behind him. Antoine had seen him like this before. Tense jaw, sleeves rolled to the elbow, refusing to look at him because the moment he did, the truth would spill out, uncontrolled. And Julien was nothing if not contained.
You shouldn't be here.
That's never stopped me.
It was true. Antoine crossed rooms, countries, even entire versions of himself when Julien needed him, or when he wished he didn't. And he had come again tonight, just as the sun dipped behind the city, called by something Julien never said aloud. Julien let the cigarette hang between two fingers.
Someone might see you, and that can be a good thing for either of us. People talk.
People will talk everywhere.
Julien's breath caught, a small tremor nearly lost under the whisper of the curtains. He lowered his hand, studying the cigarette as though it were some fragile thing he might crush with a careless thought.
You are making this damn near impossible.
Julien whispered.
I am not trying to make it harder. I am trying to make it real for us.
He stepped closer until the fading light brushed the line of his collarbone, casting long shadows against the wall. Julien finally turned. The sight of Antoine, bare chest rising and falling, curls mussed, mouth set with stubborn affection, sent something sharp and warm through him.
How did we get here?
Julien asked.
By lying. By pretending we were fine. By staring at each other across dinner tables with our wives and never breathing a word.
A muscle flickered in Julien's cheek, as if the truth had struck him physically. Antoine reached out, not touching him, not yet, just letting his hand hover near Julien's arm, close enough to feel the heat of him.
You left your shirt on the chair.
Julien said quietly, as though that observation alone might anchor him.
And you, sir, left your heart on the table the night I met you. I have been trying to give it back ever since.
Julien's breath shook. The cigarette finally slipped from his fingers, landing soundlessly on the wooden floor. Neither man moved to pick it up. The sun dipped lower, leaving only the amber glow of the room, the hush of the street below, and the weight of everything they had not said. Antoine stepped closer.
Tell me to go, mon cher, and I will.
Julien closed his eyes, but he didn't speak.
Rue du Bas, Paris, 3 nights later. Julien had always believed that there were 2 kinds of dinners in life. The ones where people ate, and the ones where people performed. The dinner at the Fournier residence that Friday evening belonged to the latter category. Crystal glasses arranged with military precision, napkins folded like origami birds, conversation clipped and sparkling, just like the sophisticated chandeliers that hung from the ceiling. Julien's wife Claire stood by the window, greeting the guests with an elegance she carried with her even when she was exhausted. She smiled warmly, her earrings catching the light like sparkling stars in a midnight sky.
Lovely.
Julien wondered, not for the first time, if she knew more than she let on. She always had a way of knowing things without ever saying a word. Antoine arrived late. He had texted Julien earlier, running behind, "Don't let them open the wine without me." Julien had stared at the message too long, memorizing the curve of each letter before sliding his phone away as his wife walked past.
I just don't understand how I can be so happy but so unhappy at the same time. These parties are so boring. I want my whiskey, I want Antoine, I want to be sitting by a fire with him. My God, I can't have these thoughts. I'm married.
When the door finally opened and Antoine stepped into the room, Julien felt something shift. Not a dramatic lurch, but a quiet tightening, as though someone had pulled a thread inside him. Antoine wore a crisp shirt tonight, the sleeves rolled, hair still damp from a rushed shower. He looked almost too put together, as though he had worked very hard to appear like a man who was not unraveling. His wife Elise followed behind him, cheeks flushed from the chilled air outside. She looked effortlessly lovely, touching Antoine's arm as she thanked their hosts. Antoine smiled at her out of habit, not out of love. Julien could see the difference. He always could. They sat at a long oak table polished to a dazzling shine. Julien and Antoine ended up across from each other. By accident or by the cruel hand of fate, Julien could not say. Candles flickered between them, casting slender shadows over Antoine's face. Julien tried not to look too long, but he could feel it, that gravitational pull that neither one of them had ever found the way to escape. Their hostess launched into a story about renovations, her husband interrupting her to give incorrect details. The room rolled with polite laughter. Julien forced a smile. Claire touched his arm lightly.
You're quiet tonight. Is something wrong, my dear?
No, I'm just tired.
But his eyes drifted back to Antoine, and Antoine's, just for a moment, drifted back to his. Dinners like this were dangerous. Not because of the words spoken aloud, but because of everything that wasn't. Julien kept his hands on the table, his fingers interlaced loosely. Antoine mirrored the pose almost unconsciously. Their gestures matched in a dozen small ways neither their wives nor their friends noticed. But they noticed. Julien felt every inch of distance between them like a live wire. The last time they stood close, 3 days ago, Antoine's breath had warmed Julien's cheek, and Julien's whisper, "Don't go," had hung in the air like an unfinished prayer. He had replayed it every night since, and he suspected Antoine had done the same. When dessert arrived, a lavender creme brulee in delicate bowls, Antoine lifted his spoon and paused in midair. His gaze flicked up to Julien, for a second too long. It was nothing. It was everything. Julien's chest tightened. He swallowed hard, pretending the spoon in his hand was suddenly very interesting. Claire, noticing his distraction, leaned in.
Did you see the Fournier's new rug? It looks hideous.
Yes, and I bet it was expensive.
But Antoine was still watching him. His foot brushed Julien's under the table. An accident? It must have been. Except, it didn't feel like one. Julien stiffened. Antoine didn't move his leg away. Only when Elise reached for her wine glass did Antoine shift, breaking the contact. Julien exhaled, slow and controlled. Later, while the others talked about a weekend trip to Deauville, Claire stepped aside to take a call from her mother, and Elise excused herself to find the powder room upstairs. Julien stood near the bookshelves, staring at the spines without reading a single title. He sensed Antoine before he heard him.
You weren't breathing, mon amour.
I was, barely. But that's normal for dinners like this.
For you, maybe. I can only imagine.
My God, what are we doing?
Antoine stepped closer, close enough that the faint scent of his cologne, clean and woodsy, reached Julien's senses. Close enough that Julien could feel heat radiating from his body.
We are pretending. We are performing. Just like always.
Julien closed his eyes.
My God, every minute feels like lying.
That's because it is lying.
Julien forced himself to meet Antoine's gaze. Antoine's expression softened, warm, pained, unguarded.
You didn't tell me to go the other night.
Julien's chest constricted. He hadn't expected him to bring it up. He hadn't expected him to remember it so clearly.
I didn't have the strength.
Do you want me to go now? It will kill me, but I will do it if that's what you want.
Julien's breath trembled. Before he could answer, footsteps approached. Elise's laughter chimed from the hallway. Claire's heels clicked against the hardwood as she returned. The room brightened with chatter and movement. And just like that, the moment slipped away, like it always did, like it always would unless one of them finally broke the pattern. Antoine stepped back, masking everything with a practiced smile. But Julien saw it, the hurt, the longing, the exhaustion of living two lives. When they left the party, the air outside was sharp and cold. Antoine held the door for Elise, who wrapped her arm around his. Julien watched the gesture, the casual intimacy, and wondered how such things could coexist with the truth he had seen in Antoine's eyes. Claire slipped her arm through Julien's.
You don't have to come to the Brisé dinner next week if you don't want to. You look 1,000,000 miles away tonight.
Julien forced a gentle smile, but his gaze drifted, unbidden, to Antoine standing by the street lamp, lit in gold and shadow. Antoine looked back just once, just long enough, and Julien felt something inside him shift with quiet inevitability, a decision forming, a truth rising, a storm coming. The following week, Paris, late evening. Julien had always hated the moment after returning home from a dinner party. The silence as he removed his shoes, the sudden absence of voices, the return to a life he had chosen long before he understood what choosing really meant. Tonight, the silence felt heavier than usual. Claire headed upstairs to change out of her dress. Julien paused in the entryway, staring at the faint imprint her heels had left on the rug. He wondered with a soft ache how many footprints a person could leave in another's life without ever realizing they were walking away. He loosened his tie, exhaled, tried to steady himself, but Antoine's eyes kept returning to him. Those long, searching looks across the dinner table, that brush of a leg that wasn't an accident, those few stolen words by the bookshelf. You didn't tell me to go. No, he hadn't. He didn't know how to. Julien climbed the stairs. Claire was brushing her hair in the mirror, her reflection soft, her expression calm.
How was your mother?
Dramatic, and only 90% necessary.
Julien smiled. Claire's humor always came when he least expected it, smoothing sharp edges without even trying.
Do you want tea?
She offered.
No, I'm all right.
She studied him, head tilted.
You're restless tonight, dear. Are you okay? I noticed you didn't say 2 words at the party.
Julien froze. Claire saw so much, too much. He forced a casual tone.
It was just a long week. Too many problems at work, too much on my mind.
She stepped closer, fingertips brushing his forearm.
You've seemed far away lately.
Julian's pulse stumbled.
Work, just lots of work, you know.
A small lie, but heavy enough to shift the air in the room. Claire searched his face for a moment more. Then she kissed his cheek and turned down the bed.
Okay, love. Good night. Let me know if you need anything.
Deciding, generously, not to pry. Julian's chest tightened with guilt, so sharp he almost doubled over. He didn't deserve her gentleness. He didn't deserve any of this. Across the city, in a quiet apartment near Avenue Daumesnil, Antoine sat at the end of his bed, elbows on his knees, staring at the floorboards. Elise was in the bathroom washing her makeup off, humming lightly, a melodic sound, familiar, safe. Antoine wished he could feel her comfort the way he used to. He wished his heart would remember her with the same clarity it remembered Julien. But desire didn't negotiate. Neither did longing. He scrubbed a hand over his face. He'd barely spoken on the cab ride home. Elise had noticed. "Are you feeling all right?" she had asked, touching his leg. He had lied. Yes, just tired. It was the kind of lie that seemed harmless, until it wasn't. Later that night, when Claire fell asleep beside him, Julien slipped out of bed, bare feet on cold floor, heart too loud in his chest. He padded downstairs to his small office and sat at the old walnut desk. The lamp cast a warm circle of light over a stack of blank stationery he used only for the letters he never mailed. He uncapped his fountain pen and waited for the words to come. At first, nothing, then, "Antoine, I don't know how to stand so close to you without falling apart." He paused, staring at the ink glistening wetly on the page. He shouldn't write this. He knew he shouldn't. But he kept going. "Tonight at dinner, when you looked at me, I felt seen in a way I haven't felt in years. It terrifies me how much I need that." Julian's hand shook. He set the pen down, pressing his palms to his tired eyes. This wasn't a letter. It was a confession bleeding onto paper. A confession that could destroy 2 marriages, 2 families, and everything he had worked to protect. He folded the page once, then again. Then, because he wasn't ready to throw it away, he placed it in the drawer with the others. A small pile, a private record of everything he couldn't say aloud. Antoine lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Elise's warm breath curved across his shoulder. The soft glow of the streetlight slipped through the curtain and lit the room in pale amber. He reached for his phone. He shouldn't call Julien, not at this hour, not ever. Still, he unlocked the screen. His thumb hovered over Julien's name. He typed, "Are you awake?"
He stared at it for a long moment, then he deleted it. Typed again. I'm still thinking about the other night. Delete, delete, delete. He put the phone face down on the nightstand, rolled onto his back, closed his eyes. But the truth pressed against his ribs, insistent and breathless. He was already losing the ability to pretend. And then, as if pulled by gravity or madness, Antoine rose from the bed. He slipped out quietly, grabbing the coat hanging near the door. He didn't wake Elise. He didn't leave a note. He stepped out into the cold night, breath fogging in the air, heart pounding with a reckless clarity. He walked 4 blocks, then 6, then 10, until he stood across from Julien's building, staring up at the windows glowing softly in the dark. His chest hurt. His hands shook. He wasn't sure what he was doing, but he knew why, because everything in him, every longing, every regret, every moment of restraint pulled him here, Julien. Julien, who would be sleeping or writing or torturing himself quietly in that softly lit office. Julien, who said, "Don't go," with a voice that had undone him. Antoine stood on the opposite sidewalk for a long time. The street was silent. The world was asleep. He whispered into the cold air, "Just tell me what to do." But the only answer was the rustle of wind against the leaves. Antoine closed his eyes. He didn't go inside. He didn't knock. He simply turned, slowly, painfully, and walked back into the night, leaving behind everything he wanted and everything he feared,